right, guys, good afternoon. So our next speaker is Cardell Sims. He's an experienced reentry consultant with a unique personal background as a justice-involved individual within the criminal justice system. He aims to provide valuable new perspectives and practical solutions to enhance the support and services offered to formerly incarcerated individuals. So please welcome Cardell Sims.
Good afternoon, how's everyone doing? So today I'm going to be talking about understanding the cycle from incarceration to transformation. And just some of the things that we're going to go over. We're going to lived experience. We're also going to talk about deconstructive recidivism and what that looks like. And then the power of personal development when it comes to reentry and transformation. When I think about incarceration and transformation and understanding the cycle, it reminds me of the puzzles, putting pieces of the puzzle together, right? Everyone's a piece of the puzzle to make this work. And it reminds me of the story of this young kid. He was getting in trouble in school. And his father brought him home and said, look here, I want all your electronics. I want you to give me all your video games. You're going to do something more constructive with yourself. And the child, he's at the age where he just don't understand the difference between constructive and construction. So he's like, Dad, you finna have me with the hard hat drilling and stuff? He's like, no, you're gonna do something more constructive. You're gonna do something more productive with your time instead of playing with video games on your laptop and it's causing you get in trouble in school. So the dad goes out to Toys R Us. And I'm like, what's Toys R Us? But he goes out to Toys R Us when they were open. This is an old story, you know, when they shut down now. But he went out to Toys R Us and he went to look for a puzzle. So when he walked into Toys R Us, he goes to the guy and says, can you point me to your aisle where the puzzles is at? The guy points him to the aisle. He goes out to the aisle. He walks down the aisle. He sees his first puzzle. The first puzzle is a puzzle of a lion, tiger, and a Just want to make sure y'all paying attention. So he said, nah, that's going to be too easy. It's going to be too easy. He said, he goes to the next puzzle. It's a prehistoric puzzle. It's got the dinosaur, that one dinosaur that flies. Just want to make sure you pay attention. So he said, no, that's going to be too easy. So he walks down a little bit more and he sees a puzzle of the world. He says, oh yeah, I got my son. It's going to take him a while to put this together. He purchases the puzzle. He goes back home. His son's sitting at the dining room table. He puts the puzzle down on the table and says, look, it's going to take you a couple weeks to get this puzzle done, but when you get done, you get your electronics back. The son, he's mad. He ain't trying to do no puzzle. He ripped the plastic off the puzzle, took the top off of it, put it to the side, dumped all the puzzle pieces out. He started filling on the puzzle. When you fill it on the puzzle, what's on the other side of the puzzle? Just want to make sure you pay attention. Cardboard. So as the son's sitting there filling on the puzzle pieces, and he's looking at the cardboard side, he sees something that kind of looked like an eyeball. So now he's curious. So he's running through all these puzzle pieces, he's flipping them over, and he runs across another piece on the cardboard, looked like a finger. So before you know it, the son's sitting there and he's putting his puzzle together backwards. After about 3 hours, he got it done. He takes the boxes of the puzzle, flats them down, slides them up under the puzzle, flips it over, mats it down. There it is, the world put together. He runs in the room, he tells Dad, Dad, I'm done with the puzzle. Now his dad's in there watching the sports game. He's like, man, quit playing with me, you ain't done with the puzzle that fast, there's no way. He's like, no, for real, Dad, I'm really done. And his father's like, if I get up out this bed and that puzzle ain't done, it's gonna be a problem. He's like, no, Dad, I really am done. So the father gets up, he goes into the dining room, there it is, the world put together. He's excited now. He's like, man, how'd you do this? He started putting out his phone, taking pictures. He all on social media. Man, my son this morning, he put this puzzle together in 3 hours. So once he got done doing all that, he sat down with his son. He said, son, you got to tell me how you put this puzzle together so fast. The son said, well, Dad, on the other side of the puzzle, there was a man. When I put the man together, the world came together. And that's what recidivism is about, putting the individual and the man or the woman together so that the world come together. I'm Cardell Sims. I'm the founder of On the Inside Reentry Academy, personal development academy that I run at Western Reception Diagnostic Correctional Center. I've been running it since 2022 to 2023. I'm the host of the On the Inside Empowerment Workshop Tour. What I did last year, I took a team of successful formerly incarcerated educators along with former correctional educators that lost their jobs during COVID. We went out on the road, we went to 8 different states, we visited 27 institutions, hosted 34 workshops, full-day reentry workshops. We hosted vision board, goal setting, personal development, entrepreneurship, career readiness, mental health and wellness, along with connecting with the reentry resources in that state, in that area, and getting them signed up for the resources that they need. I'm also the host of the Reentry Journey podcast, a podcast that we highlight the journey after incarceration, on the obstacles that you face. How did you get to where you get? Because a lot of guys coming out don't have the mentor, they don't have the blueprint. So on that podcast, I show that blueprint. I'm also a reentry peer support specialist and a master certified empowerment life coach, a 9-time author and a national speaker. I'm an entrepreneur, I own 2 businesses, and then I also am the head of the reentry advocacy for Sober in 40. Sober in 40 is a digital app that is an addiction program, a 40-day addiction program. So if you got clients working and they can't get to work to the addiction program in time to count their schedule, they can just download the app, get on there, watch the videos, we'll ask you some questions, and the questions that is asked is generated off their response. We use certain keywords and things like that, so we get red flags and things of that nature the case manager, the caseworker, parole officer knows. And then I'm also a reentry consultant. I do a lot of reentry consulting for tech companies that's looking to break into the reentry space, looking to get into prisons and everything like that. But most importantly, that's who I used to be. You all used to be my enemies. Caseworkers, POs, correction officers, and everything. I grew up in a poverty neighborhood. My mother had me when she was 16 years old. I had an older sister. She had 13 years old. By the time I was a teenager, I was involved in gangs, and my mother was on crack. My father wasn't nowhere around in the picture. At 15 years old, I was introduced to the justice system. I caught my first case, first-degree assault, attempted murder at the Missouri State Fair in a race riot. From that point on, I sat in juvenile detention center for 6 months while they determined out what was going to happen with me. Was they going to charge me as a dope? But because I could play basketball, I had coaches come and speak on my behalf, talk to the judge, explain my living situation, situations going on with my mother, and they gave me a chance. They said, Mr. Sims, we're going to put you in a foster home with the stipulation that you graduate high school. I went to one foster home, it just didn't work. They put me right back in the same neighborhood, 2 houses down from where I was just living at. My family tried to go down there and fight the foster home people. It was all kind of crazy. They were breaking my friends, and breaking me out the foster home. But my coach recognized that. He said, that's not gonna work. He put me in another foster home. So during the whole time I was in foster home, my whole mindset was, I'm trying to get back to the neighborhood. I just wanted to graduate so I can get back to the block, get back to the neighborhood. So when I graduated, that's exactly where I went, to the block, to the neighborhood. But I had a basketball scholarship. I had a basketball scholarship at the home, at State Fair Community College. That's where I played college basketball at. But during this time, I'm living a double life. During the day, I'm going to basketball. As soon as that's over with, I'm on the block, hanging out, gang banging, selling drugs. That's how I made my way through college. In between my freshman and sophomore year, I signed a letter of intent to play at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. But I also caught a case right after that, an assault case. I sat in the county jail for 60 days, lost that scholarship, finished up my second year in college at State Fair, and I got a scholarship to go play basketball at the University of West Georgia. I take the same mindset, same mentality down to the University of West Georgia and continue the same regimen. My senior year, our last basketball game, once we lost, I dropped out of school. I was full-fledged into the streets, trafficking drugs from Georgia to Missouri. Within 6 months, I caught my first case. I sat in the county jail for 6 months, got probation, got out, went right back to the same neighborhood, same block, same gang, started doing the same thing over and over. Because I knew the system. I knew those before me that was involved in the system. It was one thing on probation. I already knew when I walked out of the county jail on probation, I was going to go through this phase. Y'all know the phase. This is the early 2000s. You drop 130, what happens? You go to the outpatient. You drop 230, what happens? Now you're going to go do 30 days. You drop 330, you're going to go do a 120. I went through all them phases. I went through the 120. While in 120, I had cases pending. I get taken out to 120, sent back to the county jail. I go to trial. I lost. I get sentenced to 19 years in the Missouri Department of Corrections. I walked into the prison. Some of y'all might know this prison. I walked into the prison, 23 years old with a 19-year sentence. And as I walked in receiving, there's a red sign on the wall. There's a sign on the wall written in red letters. It said, leave all your hopes and dreams behind. That was Missouri State Penitentiary. Known as the Walls. So that's what I did. 23 years old, 19-year sentence. Left all my hopes and dreams behind. Fighting, stabbing, everything I was involved in. I wasn't the model prisoner. I was the one getting smart. I was the one bucking. You got to call the cert. I'm red tagging. I'm doing everything. Luckily, the walls were shut down. They sent me to Lickett. Well, the thing that happened with Lickett was when they first opened, because it was a new prison, they was training the staff for level 2 and 3. But the prison was 5. So when they got out all the 2 and 3s, they brought us 5s in, it was wide open. So the first 2 years I was in Lincoln, we was on lockdown for 20 months out to 24 months, stabbing, rioting, things of these nature. So a Senate bill passed, my 5th year in, the Senate bill passed. I was up for immediate parole because the Senate bill passed and cut the time on one of the cases that I lost in trial in half on the mandatory minimum. I was up for immediate parole. I had the quickest parole hearing in history. Trust me, I did. The guard walked me to the door. He went to the bathroom. I went in. They said, Mr. Sims, you are a part of the problem. You got a few more years with us. What do you think about institutional behavior and drug treatment? I told him I'd take the institutional behavior and drug treatment. My criminal mentality knew quick I get there, what happened? Quick I'm gonna get home. So that's my whole parole hearing. They gave me my out date still on the door. 2 months later, 4-year release date. They sent me that out door. I got the opportunity to work at the governor's mansion. So, working at the governor's mansion, serving drinks and things like that. Still wasn't doing nothing productive with my time, and then they called me for treatment. Went to treatment in St. Joseph. Got out, went right back to the same neighborhood, same block, same gang. My mama's house was dead center of the block. I tried to get a job at a roofing company. They paid me $8 an hour or $700 a month in child support. So that didn't work. That was just an excuse for me to go back to the streets because that's what my mentality was. Went back to the streets. Within 1 year, I caught another drug case. My mama's brother's son set me up. Violated my parole. I go back to prison while fighting a new case. Spent a year and a half in prison fighting a new case, beat it on the technicality because he wasn't going to show up in court. They released me. Same neighborhood, same block, same gang. This time when I get out, we in the middle of a gang war. Some people get shot, guy get killed, ATF, the feds come in town, they violated me for association. While I was sitting back in prison, they gave me a child support case. Sit in prison for another year and a half. Get out. Get out to the same block, same neighborhood, same, I know y'all like, man, this is crazy. But yeah, that was my mentality. But this time when I get out, I'm under federal investigation. So with the 2 years of my release then, they came to pick me and 37 other people up. They took us to Kansas City, Western District, Charles Whittaker, I know the name, the Charles Whittaker Courthouse. They stood me in there, 37 people, they handed us all the paper, our indictment paper. On this indictment paper, it had conspiracy charges, gang activity, aiding and abetting, murder for hire, 10 to 20, 5 to 40, 10 to life. I wasn't even worried about none of that. I'm not 23 this time with a 19-year sentence. I'm 35 with a fresh federal case. I'm standing there looking around. I see people I done caught cases with that we done beat. I done see uncles, cousins, everybody, my whole neighborhood, whole blocks in here. And the only thing I can come up with, ask myself, why do I keep finding myself in these situations? Because the only thing on that paper that stood out to me was the heading. forget the charges and the time, the heaven said, the United States of America versus Cardell Sims. That's how I was. What? So I asked myself, why do I keep finding myself in these situations? Only answer I came up with, I keep putting myself in these situations. So from that point on, standing there in front of the judge, I didn't say nothing. I made a silent oath to myself that I would be better whenever I walked out of prison than I was standing there that day. They sent me to Bates County. No outside, no nothing. All I had was books. And I read over and over. Knowledge of self, science of self, seed of the soul, rich dad, poor dad, the alchemy, the richest man in Babylon. I read so many books. Not only was I reading books, I was taking notes. Read about how to set goals. So I read the book How to Set Smart Goals by Brian Tracy. And this taught me how to set goals. So every day I started setting goals for myself. I'm going to read this amount of pages in this book. I'm going to take this note. I'm going to get on the email machine to ask somebody to look up this information. So I spent 32 months in Bates County fighting the federal case, doing the same regimen over and over, day in, day out. I wasn't reading the hood novels, none of that. So I ended up going to court, getting sentenced to an extra 57 months on top of the 32 months that I sat in Bates County. And they sent me to the United States Penitentiary, Leavenworth. That was just like going to the walls. And so I kicked the Leavenworth, and I want to get back on my regimen, but I can't walk around the compound because something is different than the state and the federal. When you get to federal prison, you can't go nowhere on the compound except the child hall until your paperwork comes in to show that you ain't telling nobody or hurt no kids or nothing like that. So I had to wait 3 weeks for that to come in. So not only did I have that paperwork come in, I had all the notes and everything that I was reading, I had them send that in as well. Continue my regimen. This time, I'm thinking to myself, when I get released, I gotta have some skills. I gotta have something I can utilize. Because up to this time, all I did was get out, sell dope, get out, sell dope, get out, sell dope. So this is my personal development phase I'm in, so I'm figuring out things about me. My skills, my interests. I'm looking at the programs. I just started programming. Started off with janitorial service. Took the janitorial service, graduated that. Then I ended up taking hotel hospitality and lodging. Ended up graduating that. It was a year class. Graduated that, became a certified concierge. Then I ended up taking Serve Safe. Ended up becoming certified in food preparation. Then I took this class called Consciousness and Success. Now, when I walked in this class, I'm thinking they can teach me how to make a lot of money. You say success, because in my mind, success was equated to money. But in this class, they taught me about affirmations and vision boards. I applied that to my daily regimen. I woke up every morning and said, thank you. Before my feet hit the ground, I told myself I am greater than the situation that I'm in. The situation I was in was prison, United States Penitentiary Leavenworth. I did that for 6 months until I had faith. Because a lot of times I was operating off belief. See, belief is what we think is the truth. Faith is what we know to be the truth. So it took me 6 months until that belief turned to faith. That faith was, I knew I was greater than the situation that I was in. But the question is, what you gonna do about it? And I was already working on that. So for 6 months, started putting my vision board together, everything. So when I woke up, I'm looking at everything that I wanted to be. I got my life laid out exactly what it's going to be like when I walked out of prison. I knew I was going to be an author. I knew I was going to be a speaker. I knew I was going to be a life coach. I knew I was going to be a business owner. I knew I was going to come back in prisons and get the game to stop recidivism to those who were just like me. Because while I was sitting in federal prison, I was watching too many guys come back saying, you just can't make it off federal probation without coming back. I told them, I'm gonna show you how, and then when I do, I'm gonna come back in and teach you how. And I made that my goal. And when I walked out of Leavenworth, all I had was 4 brown legal folders. No money, no nothing. Them brown legal folders had the vision board, it had the goals, the plans, and the ideas. I went down to Springfield to the halfway house. When I got there, now this is the crazy part. During my personal development phase, I told myself, I'm not taking no factory job, right? because I knew that was a setup for me. Not saying for everybody else. I got ADHD. I can't sit in a factory like that all day. I'm gonna quit. Once I quit, that's my excuse to get back into the game. I use that as an excuse. So I told myself I'm not working in no factory, but I had a list of jobs that fit around my skills and my interests. So when I got to the halfway house, they handed me this paper, had all factory jobs on it. But at the bottom of it had the one job, it was the lowest paying job. All these other factory jobs, $17, $18 an hour. The last job was $11 an hour. It was telemarketing. That's the only place I went. I went to the telemarketing place, it was a young guy. He came running out there full of energy. He's like, man, you at the halfway house? I'm like, yeah. He's like, yeah, my brother's out there, I'm gonna get you a job. You gonna work? I said, yeah, I'm gonna work, I'm gonna show up. He's like, you know how to read a script? I'm like, yeah, I know how to read a script. So I read the script, he said, come back and you start the next day. The next day when I walked into the meeting, they started their meeting off with affirmations. Then every telemarketer started setting their goals for the day. I knew that's where I belonged, because that was my regimen, affirmations and goals. I was in a halfway house for 4 months. This was my daily regimen. I woke up at 5, rode the bus to work, got there at 7. Got off work at 2, rode the bus back to the halfway house, got back at 4. I ate my dinner, then I went to the computer lab, and I started typing up my books that I wrote while incarcerated. Because I knew the books was gonna be my way of making extra money. But I happened to go to the streets because a guy came and said, yeah, you can sell books on Amazon and stuff like that. I'm like, what? I can write my own book and sell it and make money? He was like, yeah. And so I wrote 3 books. I had the time. So I wrote 3 books, got out in the halfway house, typed them up. Once I typed them up for a couple hours, worked on them, I took my life coaching courses for 2 hours. I did that for 4 months straight in the halfway house. When I walked out, I had 1 life coaching diploma, 3 books typed up. I went and got a job, stocking at Dollar Tree, 5 in the morning, 5 to 10. Listening to podcasts on growth. From 12 to 7, I worked at the sporting goods store, next door as a sales associate. Little did I know these jobs were going to help me in my speaking and customer service skills and people skills. 6 years ago, I wanted to be able to stand in front of all people and be able to talk. But because the telemarketing helped me become a better speaker, and then the sales associate helped me to interact with people, I acquired these skills. So one thing that about it was, every time I got out, I went home. Every time I went home, I went back. So I knew home wasn't the place for me. So I went home for a few months, worked them jobs, and then I ended up moving. And when I moved, I got another job in marketing and promoting. But I'm still building my business on the side. I got a business license and everything. And so while I'm in building this business and I'm in marketing and promoting, I used to host my own speaking engagements and sell my books and t-shirts. I would host a speaking engagement for free, sell t-shirts and books to make money. Money was my thing of why I kept going back to prison. Now remind you, I still owe $700 a month in child support. So let's break that down. 40 hours a week, $11 an hour, $440. After taxes, $275, $300. After child support, half of that. Then I was on state probation, state parole, and federal probation. I had to pay fines for each and every one of them. So after I was done with all that, literally a week, I probably was operating on 50 and 60 bucks. But I knew this before I walked out. I already looked at all of this. That's why my plan was to sell books, cut grass, do everything I can to make extra money. And then COVID hit. Took me out to work. But the crazy part is, right when COVID hit, I wrote a book about my life because my mentor told me, you need to share your story, man, it's crazy. I wrote a book called Inmate to Inspiration, and it took off. Then I started my podcast. As soon as I was off federal probation in 2021, 2 days after that, someone who read my book said, Mr. Sims, I got a federal speaking grant, and I would like for you to go on tour back into the prison and share your story. And that's when I started doing this. My book landed me in the reentry space. My book landed me in the prisons. And so I went on a speaking tour. The crazy part is, they paid me. They paid me $1,200. They paid for the travel, flight, everything. And so while I was doing the speaking engagement, I was doing surveys. What do we need on the inside? I already know because I've been here. But I wanted to see what I thought matched everything else. And one of the main things was we wanted programs from those who've been through it. We want programs from those who actually know what the obstacles are and been through the steps. And so I started designing my own program on the Inside Reentry Academy because I know for a fact, no belief, none of that, not no guess, I know for a fact that reentry starts on the inside, a prison and a self. And so I built a personal development program on the Inside Reentry Academy, walked to St. Joe, a prison I used to be, but not walk. I live right not too far from it. Went to St. Joe, prison I was once in, sat down with the wardens, shared my story, shared my program. We went through the program, and they let me in. And when I came in, I changed the environment in that prison. Because now they seeing someone who actually been through it, doing what I do. Not only when I created the program, I created the virtual side because I wanted to make the biggest impact that I possibly could. And every time I met with a warden, program, a coordinator, a reentry coordinator, it was always Zoom, Teams, things of that nature. So I created the virtual side that allowed me to have a class using the same method. So now I run a virtual side in Arizona, in Kingman Prison in Arizona. And so I've been doing that for the last 3 or 4 years, and that's how I got to doing the workshop tour. So now in 2024, I'm one of the leading mergers in the reentry field. All started off from what I was doing on the inside. That's my journey through the justice system. Let's look at some of the key turning points and realization of my story. Well, biggest key turning point was me versus the United States of America. Standing there knowing that I was the reason. Accountability. It's hard to make the change. It's kind of like in substance abuse program. What's the first step? And then you got a problem. That's what I had to do. I had to admit that I was the problem. I was the reason why. I couldn't blame the prosecutor. I couldn't blame old boy for telling on me. I couldn't blame all these other people. I had to start looking at me. And that's the importance of personal accountability when it comes to reentry. It's sitting down, even in my class, I sit down. We got to figure out the role that you play so you can understand what led you to prison. Now, I understand that some people are incarcerated falsely, but majority of people incarcerated ain't locked up falsely. I did what I did to go to prison all them times. That's where I was supposed to go. So when we get to that point, when you get to start doing understanding the personal development, understanding your role you play, understanding the victim side, being able to look at the whole picture overall, that's where it starts at. Challenge faced during reintegration. And I got out 4 times. Number one challenge for me was finances, because back then, it's different now. I've been in it long enough to know that seeing the difference in how reentry is opened up and how things is getting better. Sometimes we focus on where we're trying to be and forget about how far we've come. And just being in the system just came a long way, because when I first got out of prison in 2007, there wasn't no such thing as no reentry. Just wasn't no such thing as no reentry. You got out, this is what it was. Don't catch no case, don't drop no dirties, go find a job. That's just what it was. And the job, they tell you, take any old job. This is the problem with taking any old job. Because we start taking jobs that don't fit us. We start taking jobs that's not with our personality. It's not who we are. It's not our skills. It's not our interests. And we get there, we don't like it, we hate it. We end up quitting. Quitting is what's going to be the launch pad to going back to doing what they're doing, right? And when we look at recidivism, a lot of times we look at how many times a person gets rearrested. But the Webster Dictionary says recidivism is a tendency to relapse to a previous condition or mode behavior. So me taking them long period jobs, me quitting, that was the beginning of my relapse to a previous condition or mode behavior. because the job didn't fit me. Let me tell you what happens also when the job don't fit you. You don't like the job. You don't want to show up to work. Or you might start using. Next thing you know, you're taking out what's going on at work on your family. If you start using, work driving you crazy, you're going to start showing up to work under high and drunk, or you might not show up to work at all. That's the importance of finding the job that fits your skills and your interests. If you are a parole officer, case manager, don't never tell them go take any job because you're setting them up for failure. I'm just being honest with you. The pressure of trying to find the job, then I got to take over any job that ain't gonna fit me. I know, it happened to me 4 times, and I quit. Another challenges, not necessarily that I face, that I've seen, especially across the nation, housing. We all know that's a problem. In Florida, it's a big problem. They letting them out, you can stay on the boat. They got a tree house, state tree house. They just don't have enough housing. You know, for real, they do it. Yeah, it's not a game in Florida. But housing is another thing. How can we make housing better? So what I do in my program is, because I connected with other business owners, entrepreneurship, I find those business owners who have housing or have friends that have property or real estate, and I connect with them. And look, straight up talk to them. Like, we have to start developing a plan for housing. We have a lot of people that's coming into this community, in this city, that getting out of prison that don't have houses, and we have to start building housing for them. We have to connect them resources. And the biggest strategy is everyone part of what I call the streamline process. To me, it has to be streamlined. When someone comes into prison, and this is what you see, and thank God for the tech companies, right? You got tech companies. In Missouri, you got Career Edge. I don't know, everyone know what Career Edge is? Okay, so on the tablets in Missouri, they have Career Edge. Career Edge is a streamlined process. When you come in, it helps you start working on personal developments. It's on their tablets. You start working on personal developments, goals, skills, interests, things of these nature. After you're done with that part, it starts letting you get career development. So you start figuring out what careers you want, and then it has educational courses and stuff that you complete for the career. Then they have a streamline once they get out. On the back end, the case management load, we put you in all your needs and wants and assessments. From the assessments, we put you all in there. I heard what was said earlier, mentors. That's the biggest thing. In Michigan, they have a mentor program. When those come out of prison, they got a program of mentors, formerly incarcerated mentors that they assign to those who's coming out of prison who wants a mentor. You gotta have a mentor. Mentors for those, your clients. Why is the mentor important? Before I even knew about building a program, I watched my mentor. His name is Andre Norman. He showed me that you can build a program and bring it in an institution, and it's your own program. You don't have to go under the other programs that have been in prison all these years. And I'm kind of biased to the programs, right? Because I feel like this, I've been in the system for 25, 30 years. It's been the same programs, and the recidivism rates steady going up. We need new programs. And so that's why I fight hard for programs, especially programs for formerly incarcerated educators. And strategies that support successful transition has to have a mentorship in there. Because y'all was talking about your caseload was heavy. Mentors can help relieve that caseload, the problems that you have with the caseload. And Kingpin, it comes to my program. Even in St. Joseph, it comes to my program. If you're in my program, you get my mentor all the way until you don't use me no more. You get my guidance, you get my direction. I probably mentor over 50 to 75 people right now that's currently incarcerated or they released. Mentors, and I'm showing them, and they're gonna talk to me about things they're not gonna talk to you all about. All right? They're gonna keep it, it's transparency with me. And so that's mentors is the problem. Another strategy that supports successful transformation, it starts on the inside. What programs do you have? not only what programs do you have, does your program fit your population? Right? So I work with a company called Takura. And what they do is they do career assessments of the population in your prison, or in your corrections community, or in your jail, color. Using colors, not having to read, picking their favorite color. 3 questions. Pick your favorite color. It's going to be a bowl of colors. Let's say red, white, blue. Pick your favorite color. Pick it. After 2, pick your least favorite color. You'll do that 3 times. Once you pick it, it's going to show them where your career and skills and interests are. For the program, if you got 1,000 people in your prison and 700 of them tested and landed in education or landed in maintenance work, then that's the type of program you want to have at your institution. Because the majority of the people that took the test in the institution got an interest in maintenance, things of that nature. So let's talk about deconstructing recidivism. Earlier I defined recidivism. It's not just getting out, getting rearrested. It's not getting out, going back to prison. It's a tendency to relapse to a previous condition or mode behavior. Once we start looking at that, not the numbers, but looking at the true definition, a tendency to relapse to a previous condition and mode behavior. Then we understand how we can start exploring the root causes of recidivism. What are the root causes? Well, let's look at the numbers. Well, within 3 years of release, this is nationwide. Within 3 years of release, 68% of released prisoners are going to go back. That's within 3 years. Within 5 years, 77%. Within 9 years, 83%. Then you look at Missouri recidivism rate, over a 5-year release, it was approximately about 45%, and this rate includes new cases as well as technical violations, parole, or probation. I give probation and parole credit because the system is not about now. If you mess up, you go right back. When I first started dealing with probation and parole, they didn't play. Like, you going back. This is what it is. I don't care what, dirty, you get you 3 times, you're going back. You know, catch a new case, misdemeanor not, going back. Back in like, when I called the second case and I went back, that's when you started seeing the delay of action. The delay of action. You start saying, before we send you back, let's see what's going to happen with this case. And I think that's the best approach. And so, when we're looking at, like I said, recidivism, the tendency to relapse for a previous condition or moral behavior. But let's look at the root causes. Education. 80% of those incarcerated can't read past the 4th grade level. If they can't read past the 4th grade level, their comprehension and understanding ain't past the 4th grade level. So they can't comprehend and read what they can't comprehend and understand what they're reading. That's where the education comes in. Employment, we discuss employment. Instead of setting them up for jobs, let's set them up for a career. Only way you're gonna know what career is good for them is understanding their skills and interests, assessments. Opportunities, providing opportunities. Being able to say, when you get out, this is available. These resources are available. I work on personal development in prison, but I cover everything. Because during the personal development, I have to work with each individual person, one-on-one. We must remember, this is not a one shoe fits all. This is an individual case. What this person might need, this person might not need. What that person needs, the next person might not need. And so we have to start looking at the individual, each individual circumstances. And how can we create an ecosystem full of opportunities for to be successful when they walk out. Next, housing. We know that everyone in here knows the problem with housing, but not just only that, we have to set up a way to where guys are just not taking any housing just to get out. Like, man, I need a home plan, I was on Facebook the other day, one of my little cousins, he's locked up, and I seen his mom on there saying he needs a home plan. Then I seen a lady say he can come here, and then 2 weeks later, I seen her post about she got to find a place to live. That ain't no healthy household for him to be going to. A lot of us coming out, we going to unhealthy households, but we use them because we need a home plan to get out. You see, when I got out, I went right back dead center of the block. My little brother and the gang hanging out there, they selling dope, they drinking. That's an unhealthy place to go to. A lot of it's happening in the households the guys are home planning too. All because of the lack of housing opportunities. And then last one is the biggest to me. Mental health support. This is where we stop looking at people for their crime. Let's look at the root causes behind it. Substance abuse, alcohol. How many people heard of adverse childhood experiences and seen the test, the ACE test? That's not good. I think everyone in here should be familiar with the ACE test. It's 10 questions. It's asking them what they've been through their childhood, what they've seen in their household, what has happened to them. After 10 questions, if they got 4 or more, they're dealing with some type of trauma. This is where the trauma comes in that leads to the substance abuse, that leads to the alcohol, the drugs, the criminal activities. They have a departure stage. My departure stage that led me into the criminal activity was 12 years old, I ain't getting nothing for Christmas. 13 years old, my mama got her first card. 2 weeks later, the drug dealer had it. 15, I'm leads to them committing crimes and going to prison. And so we start looking at them at their crime, looking at them at their addiction, but not addressing the root issue, the mental health. What's driving this? What is causing this? And that's the biggest thing. So if you, in corrections, I don't care if you're the warden, the caseworker, the PO, whatever, you all should be familiar with the ACE test. Because this is going to also tell you the therapeutic aspect of it, the therapy that they need. How many of y'all connected with, if you're in the probation or parole field, how many of you all connected with licensed therapists? That's big. Because until they address the root issue, this is going to occur. It's going to happen. Now, the human stories behind the data, again, let's not look at the numbers. Let's look at personal stories of individuals who have experienced recidivism, broke down in 3 facets. The emotional side. You got emotional, social, and economic impact recidivism has on us, our family, and the community. The emotional side. Man, as a parent, I know my mom was embarrassed. I know my mom was hurt. Not only was I going to prison, my little brother followed in my footprints. Now he's going to prison, so she got 2 sons running in and out of prison. We all in the paper. That's shameful. My children, they like, Daddy, what you gonna do? They hurt. That's shameful. Then let's look at the social side, trying to get back. If it wasn't for the jobs that I took, I wouldn't be standing here interacting with a lot of you all today, and the people that I've interacted with so far today. Because we used to isolate ourselves. In prison, ain't no buddy-buddy thing. You might have a couple of people, but you more so on yourself and trying to make sure you're going to get up out of there alive. And so it's a lot of isolation, it's a lot of tension, and you drinking the same things when you come out. Even to this day, I find myself in my house, just in a section by myself, isolated from everybody else. That's part of the stuff that I went through in prison. I talk to my therapist about it all the time. He tells me that's where it comes from. Another example, I got grandchildren now. I used to have a hard time picking up my phone and video call them because they live in another state, in another city. I couldn't pick up. I would put the phone in my hand, bring them up, but never pushed it. Talk to my therapist about it. This is important. You help. Talk to my therapist about it. Said because you isolated yourself while incarcerated, you don't know how to de-isolate yourself to get back into your grandchildren's life because you already been out your children's life. You don't know how to integrate and start start the conversation because you feel like you might fail them like you failed the children. That's the social side. Now let's look at economic. Reduce earning potential. We all know it's getting better, but we all know when you walked out of prison with a felon on your jacket, you was going to the lowest paying job that they had. That's just what it was. And so we're looking at earning potential, financial instability. You ain't making no money. You got all these fees. Like I said, I paid $700 a month in child support. If I didn't have a financial plan this last time, I would have ended up in prison just on the fact that $60 a week ain't gonna cut it. Straight up. You know, and that's the economic side. So when we start looking at the stories, then we can get a better understanding of what's really going on. The power of personal development. I said it, reentry starts on the inside of prison and the self. You can give me all the resources you want. If I develop and ready for them, I'm not gonna be able to take advantage of it. How many of y'all got people in that office, yeah, we got this and take that. They never take advantage of it. That's the personal development side. They not ready to take advantage of it. It's resources out here. I hear guys, come on man, ain't nothing out here, nothing out here. Then I say, look, go here and get that, you can go here and get that, go here and get that, you can go here and get that. Talk to them a week later, man, did you make the call? Oh, I ain't got around to it. Don't worry about it, they're gonna leave the light on for you when you get back. Most definitely. The key areas of personal development. Number one, education and skill building. We give them the education, we get the skills. When they walk out of prison, now they're able to get into a field and a career.